Good. All right. Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, September 18th, 2018 at 9 a.m. in the morning. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Fire Commissioners. Please call the roll.
Let the record reflect Commissioners Glazier, Hada, Woods-Gray are present, and we have a quorum. Vice President Glazier.
Thank you. Flag salute and moment of silence.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, why don't we start with some commissioner comments?
Okay, on 9/11, Commissioner Nimberg, Commissioner Yabata, and I attended the 9/11 memorial event at Hutchins, and we definitely missed Commissioner Woods-Gray, who was having issues with her back at that time, apparently, and the mayor of L.A., Eric Garcetti, and the mayor of Paris, France, was also there, and the entire row behind Delia and Rebecca and I basically were all people from France. And so, as always, our mayor and the mayor, and likewise Mayor Paris, had great comments, and Chief Terrazas, likewise, as always, shared a important story of just individual events that happen that we have to remember, that it's not just an event, but individuals, and he put a face onto the tragedy of 9/11. So once again, and then LAPD was there, or of course our firefighters, the county firefighters were also in attendance, and the Coast Guard was in attendance this time around.
All right. I think that's all we got. Thank you, commissioners. Report of the fire chief.
Thank you, Commissioner. On September 5th, I attended Mayor Garcetti's press conference, A Bridge Home, where he opened up the El Pueblo temporary homeless shelter. That was significant because it's the first one of what we hope to see, one per council district. Very positive, getting good reviews. Yesterday we had our weekly meeting with the mayor and cabinet members at the UHRC, United Homeless Resource Center, which is in our EOC. So there is a lot of effort taking place to get a handle on this homeless situation. I think we're starting to make some real progress. September 11th was the 9/11 memorial, very well attended. County Chief Osby was there, Sheriff McDonald, good event, large showing of people. Very nice to see that we are keeping the stories alive of those people. September 12th, we had an all chiefs meeting at Transamerica building downtown. We had approximately 100 chiefs, talked about a lot of things. Probably most significantly was our efforts in Everybody Goes Home. That's a new campaign that we're launching. That's something that's going to be in place forever. What that means is we want people to learn about the dangers of firefighters, not only cancer, but PTSD, firefighter suicide, all those things. That's a formal program, and more to come on that. Later that day, we went out to Chatsworth for the 10-year anniversary of the Chatsworth train derailment. Very moving ceremony. Councilmember Englander put that on. All the family members of the 25 victims from that train incident were there. And as I was reading the program, it struck me that many of those victims were very young and had bright careers in front of them. One was an aspiring doctor, and their lives were ended on that day. So very moving, very emotional ceremony. On this past Saturday, September 15th, attended the Wilson High School 5K, annual 5K. The proceeds go to the Wilson High School Firefighter Magnet. Very successful. They had 250 runners. That's the highest number of runners they've ever had. They also requested a salvaged fire engine. The principal asked me. I told him we'll work on it. And then later that day was our 5th LAFD Girls Camp. We had approximately 100 young women between the ages of 14 to 18 at our upper drill deck at Frank Hotchkiss. Very successful event, very well funded through the mayor's efforts and the First Lady's efforts and the foundation. And lastly, last week, we got good news about an American Firefighter Grant. We were awarded $1.4 million for a firefighter bailout system. We're very happy about that. It's going to make it safer for our firefighters. If they ever need to rappel out of a window above ground, they can do that. And then yesterday, we received a $350,000 innovation grant from Mayor Garcetti's Innovation Commission to fund our wellness clinic to help reduce work comp costs. And the intent of that program will be to set up a facility within Frank Hotchkiss that will be staffed by athletic trainers so that our people can seek treatment before they officially get first care. Because maybe it's something that's minor that can be addressed by exercises and therapy, and the member does not go off work, does not go off duty. So we're excited about that. We're already planning how do we implement that. We're looking to get that started within the next 90 to 120 days. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I also noticed that you might be riding along with the bike team at LAX. Is that happening this afternoon?
Yes, would you like to accompany us?
I would love to. Do you have a helmet?
Yes, we do.
You're going to wear one, right?
I am.
Okay, good. Safety first. So
We're going to ride out today. Deputy Mayor Gurrell is going to join us, and myself and Chief Everett. We're going to ride out with the cycle teams at LAX. It's a very successful program. Since January, those 2 cycle teams have handled 1,700 incidents. So we're very excited about that program.
well, that's great. I actually would like to join. I can't today, but perhaps some other time. All right, thanks. All right, verbal report by the Department on Significant Incidents, September 4th through September 17th.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Chief Terrazas, Julie, Sella. Al Poyer, Chief Deputy of Emergency Operations. We've had a robust period of emergency activity since the last time we met. There's been a number of fires. I just wanted to highlight a few of the activities, and then we'll bring up a couple of our Geographic Bureau Deputy Chiefs to talk about specific incidents. On September the 8th, we had a tragic fire in Cypress Park that Chief Legal will talk about, and then resulted in a fatality, number 15 on the year for this department. And then on September the 14th, tragically, we had another fire in Sunland that resulted in another fatality, number 16 on the year. That same day, we had a large fire in Brentwood that Deputy Chief Armando Hogan from West Bureau will come up and talk about. And then yesterday, on the 17th of September, we had 2 small brush fires in Griffith Park, but aggressive attack by our ground resources and air assets prevented them from becoming larger, and we hope to keep that to be our trend throughout the year. And then last night, we had a significant fire in Glassell Park, a major emergency fire where 150 men and women of this organization responded to a large commercial occupancy. It was a 7-hour firefight. A little after midnight last night, they achieved a knockdown, and we still have resources working there this morning. I'll turn it over to Deputy Chief Legal to talk about the fire from September the 8th.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chief Terrazas, Ms. Radfish, Isela. My name is Phil Flegel. I'm the Deputy Chief Operations Central Bureau. I'd like to share you an incident that we had that Chief Poyer just spoke of last week. I want to give you a review of a civilian fatality structure fire that occurred on September 8th, 2018, approximately 4:30 in the morning. On that morning, Los Angeles Fire Department responded to a report of a structure fire at 3316.5 Thorpe Avenue in 44's First in the Cypress Park area of the city. Exactly 4 minutes and 37 seconds, first arriving LFD resources came on scene to find a 1-story, 1,000 square foot dwelling well involved with fire, with 5 residents struggling to escape from the windows. Initial firefighters came to the direct aid of those attempting to flee the burning building, and their colleagues extended firefighting hose lines to battle the intense flames. As 3 children, a man and a woman were assisted exiting the oppressively hot, smoke-charged structure via a rear window, Firefighters used power rotary saws to breach steel security doors and to enter the burning premises in the quest to rescue one child and one pet dog that remained unaccounted for. Driven to their knees by the hot flames and roaring smoke, or the hot flames and roaring overhead heat, firefighters dauntlessly pushed forward to the intense burning in the residence, where they soon discovered the lifeless body of a 10-year-old girl. They rescued her from the flames and placed her in the immediate care of LAFD paramedics, but sadly she proved beyond the medical help and was determined dead at the scene at a nearby hospital. The pet dog was also later discovered and was succumbed to the fire and the flames. 3 more young children and 1 adult were also rescued from the home after they sustained only minor injuries and were considered in fair condition and taken by LAFD paramedics to a local hospital. Additionally, 1 other man suffered severe smoke inhalation and was treated by LFD paramedics and was taken in critical condition to a hospital and still there and actually in critical condition. In all, 6 victims at this incident were treated, and at its height, 26 firefighters and paramedics battled the pre-dawn blaze. The fire was extinguished in only 14 minutes, and there was 1 firefighter injury. The cause is still under investigation, and the dollar loss is still being tabulated. Volunteers from the Los Angeles Mayor's Crisis Response Team were also deployed to the scene of the incident to assist family, friends, and neighbors and witnesses coping with this tragedy and the loss of the young woman. Furthermore, LFD fire psychologist Crystal Madrid responded to the need of firefighters and first responders to help with their behavioral health at the scene of the incident afterwards. Though at least 1 smoke alarm was discovered in the burnt building, its functionality and status at the time of the fire and its role in alerting occupants has not been determined yet. Finally, due to this tragic loss and to reiterate the importance of smoke alarms, a smoke alarm Cannabis event was held on Saturday, September 15th. My Safe LA staff, in collaboration with the staff from Operations Central Bureau, visited 30 homes and installed 81 smoke alarms in this area. Based on the need and just for 30 homes, My Safe LA is also planning a return visit to this neighborhood to provide even more safety in this community. Are there any questions for me at all? Great, thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Members of the Fire Commission, Chief DeRozes, Attorney Radfish, Isela, and to the management and staff of the LAFD. My name is Armando Hogan, Deputy Chief in charge of Operations West Bureau. My purpose here today is to share with you a significant incident that recently took place in West Bureau. On Friday, September 14th, 2018, at roughly 03:58 hours, Operations West Bureau Resources responded to 345 North Rockingham Avenue in the Brentwood section of Los Angeles on a reported structure fire. This was incident number 176. The first responding units found approximately a large 7,552 square foot single-family dwelling built in 1950 with heavy smoke showing from the front of the residence. As you see from this slide, there was heavy foliage in front of this residence, which made it difficult for our first units on scene to determine where the fire was in the residence. This was the former residence of Mr. Stanley Scheinbaum, the renowned activist and president of both the ACLU and the Los Angeles Police Commission. This home was unoccupied at the time of this incident. However, there was some sort of renovation taking place. Based on the outstanding efforts of our firefighters, the fire was held to the residence and was prevented from extending into the brush area that was directly behind. The large attic area and void spaces made this a difficult firefight. Our members used as many as 4 30-minute air bottles per firefighter during this incident. At the height of this incident, there were over 100 firefighters on scene and a ferocious attempt to extinguish this fire. After fighting this fire for 2 hours and 27 minutes, a knockdown was declared at 6:25 hours. This short clip taken after a knockdown was an example of the difficulty encountered while attempting to extinguish this fire. At the time of this footage, we were in the process of a tactical pause in order to wait for the arrival of arson investigators. As you see there, based on the void spaces, we had to continually open up the attic area and in some of the areas that were difficult to see from the earlier firefight. After the arson investigators arrived on scene, they began a very detailed investigation to determine what caused this fire. As of my last discussion with our investigators, the cause is still undetermined. However, the residence was so severely compromised that it was red tagged, which means it is unsafe for entry. It was building and safety that posted this signage. There were 2 firefighter injuries during this incident as they both experienced heat-related exhaustion from the prolonged exposure. There were no civilian injuries nor fatalities. I'll take any questions if you have. Thank you.
All right, I think move to the report of the medical director.
Good morning, everyone. Dr. Mark Eckstein, Medical Director. Significant EMS incident since our last meeting. On September the 6th, incident 1357, Engine 91, Rescue 98 responded to an incident, found a 34-year-old female gasping for breath. She quickly deteriorated to cardiac arrest, and due to the combined efforts of both the ALS and BLS resources on scene, they're able to regain pulses. She was diagnosed as having a STEMI, was transported to the nearest STEMI center, and is expected to make a full recovery. On September 9th, Engine Rescue 102 responded on a 57-year-old female who was witnessed to have collapsed by family members. Our dispatchers at MFC, using the TDS protocols, provided dispatcher-assisted chest compression-only CPR, which was then taken over by firefighters on scene. She was defibrillated. They achieved return to spontaneous circulation. She was transported after being stabilized to a STEMI receiving center, also expected to make a full recovery. Finally, on September 9th, Engine Rescue 77 responded on a 59-year-old female, complained of chest pain. The dispatchers also recognized the woman was in severe distress over the phone when she called on her own behalf. This was an immediate dispatch for chest pain with priority symptoms. Soon after arrival of resources on scene, the patient collapsed into cardiac arrest. She was immediately defibrillated, returned pulses. She was transported to St. Joseph's STEMI Center, awake and alert. She was taken emergently to the cath lab, had 2 stents placed, and was discharged home 3 days later. These three cases highlight the strength of our chain of survival in the city, beginning with bystanders calling 911 quickly, our dispatchers recognizing patients in extremis, providing immediate dispatch, dispatcher-assisted CPR for emergency instructions, BLS, ALS, STEMI centers, and post-resuscitative care to successfully save several lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think that concludes our reports from the fire chief. So we have no presentations today. So we will move to the consent agenda item, and I will entertain a motion to adopt the recommendations for items 4A through 4F.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Items are adopted. Moving to the regular agenda item, we will hear item 5A, report by the department on the cannabis unit status report.
Good morning to the board, Fire Chief Terrazas, City Attorney Rafish, Isela. How are you? Good. I'm Patrick Hayden, and I am the Industrial Commercial Section Commander, and I have prepared the cannabis unit status report and here to entertain any questions and or to try and just detail some of the highlights of the report for you. Sure. So a couple of the highlights. We started our effort sometime in March. Obviously, the cannabis ordinance went into effect January 1st of 2018. When it was originally given to me, we realized pretty quickly that we needed to have some sort of industry specific training for our members. So all of the industrial commercial inspectors have undertaken fairly comprehensive cannabis specific training. In addition to that, we've pushed out a guideline that will assist those individuals when they are, in fact, going out to perform those inspections. We've also made sure that our website is up and running as it relates to any information for the general public, as well as those individuals who would like to apply for a application for cannabis. And that website also refers directly over to the Department of Cannabis Regulation, where they can complete that effort. I have to say that we've met on a regular basis with the Department of Cannabis Regulations, and that at one point was on a weekly basis. And their efforts have been tremendous in terms of our ability as a city family to be able to meet the needs of the cannabis industry and the general public as it relates to fire life safety. So with that, we've also begun our actual inspections. We have 2 current inspectors that are out in the field, and they've been able to maintain somewhere in the neighborhood of about 80% completions for the inspections. We've had 164 temporary approvals provided by DCR to us, and for each one of those particular permits, it's about a $918 fee that is full cost recovery for the fire department. So obviously this is a huge undertaking for us, and it's something that the inspectors are making sure that they're remaining very diligent. One of the things that we are concerned about would be any illegal activity, and they've been given very specific direction and guidelines how they are to respond if in fact they come across any illegal cannabis operation. So with that, I think we have a fairly comprehensive program. Thanks to Fire Marshal, Assistant Fire Marshal for all of their support in these efforts. The training has been very again, industry specific to cannabis, and we've tried to do everything we possibly could to make sure that their needs are met so that they can do their job as effectively as possible.
Just a quick question: Will this start to get included with your inspection metrics in the regular reporting that we get, the quarterly reports from the
yes.
FPB?
Yes.
Great.
As a matter of fact, we've already rolled our the section, the cannabis unit, into our fire protective application, which is FPA or our software. And we are already beginning to report on a weekly basis to the fire marshal, and we'd be glad to include that in our board report for all future statistics related to Fire Prevention Bureau.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Of the 164 approved sites, how many of those have been inspected?
We're right around 79.2%, 0.3%.
How many of those? How many is that?
You're going to ask me to do that math, huh? Okay.
I actually like the hard numbers. Percentages are deceiving.
I hear you. I understand. So as of right now, we're just a little over 103 we've inspected thus far.
Okay. Have they encountered any interesting things that might be noteworthy?
You know, well, let me, not that I'm aware of in terms of anything that would be particularly noteworthy, but I can tell you that having gone out to 2 workshops fairly recently, myself, I attended 2 workshops whereby we were able to give specific direction to many of the business owners with regard to what they can anticipate and expect prior to those inspections. We wanted to make sure that our outreach was very comprehensive and reached out to those disproportionately impacted by the prior way in which cannabis was regulated. So one of the intents of that particular program was to make sure that we reached out to low-income areas, incomes that have been disproportionately impacted, to make sure that they had very clear direction and guidelines in terms of what they can anticipate when we arrived. So I think because of those efforts, we're finding that a significant portion of those businesses, those that have the temporary approvals, have met all of our guidelines and requirements.
What are low-income applicants?
So one of the, and I'll read directly from my report here. The FPB has also participated in 2 DCR Phase 2 workshops. The Vital Outreach has provided public support and education to over 1,000 entrepreneurs within the cannabis industry. These workshops focus primarily on Section 104.2 of the Los Angeles Municipal Code, which addresses the Social Equity Program, which is the program that I was referencing earlier, providing outreach efforts for the following: low-income applicants, California cannabis conviction applicants, and disproportionately impacted area resident applicants. So what they tried to do is make sure that as this new industry is rolling out, that those who would otherwise be possibly pushed out of this opportunity are given a fair chance to compete. And so with that, I think that was a very forward-leaning approach by the city. And DCR has elected to have workshops to try and reach out to those communities.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions?
I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our. Oh, sorry, I need a motion. Thank you. Motion to
Move to receive and file.
Yes, thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, my item passes. We have no public comment today. That concludes our regular business. As we adjourn, I'd like to mention that it turns out that there were